Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. This is your host, Howard Fox. The Outdoor Adventure Series celebrates individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, and access and enjoyment of the outdoors. David McIlvaney is our guest today on the Outdoor Adventure Series. David is a New York-based outdoor enthusiast and essayist. He has worked with outdoor brands to communicate with their customers. He has a huge library of essays he has written on fly fishing, hunting, general outdoor skills. I know David because we are also members of the Outdoor Writers Association of America, and David is also a board member of the New York City chapter of Trout Unlimited. David, it is so good to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Howard. How are you, man?
I am doing very good. Now, I am a little envious because my background is kind of fake, though my logo is a real logo. But you're in a nice setting right now. It looks real.
Yeah, it is real. I'm in Mexico. I'm in a city called Mérida, which is in the Yucatán Peninsula, where I have another home. So I split my time between my upstate camp in the Catskill Mountains of New York and Mérida here. So I got down here, I guess about a month ago or so, and I'll probably stay. It's open-ended, but I'll probably stay till April, May.
Okay. Now, is this like a permanent half the time up in the Catskills, half the time in Mexico? I love that. I love that lifestyle, by the way.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. Right now, for the past few years, it's been kind of 50-50. I find that things may be shifting a little bit,
Mhm.
and I may spend a little more time down here in Mexico versus New York. I also travel a lot. I
Yeah.
travel around fishing and doing various outdoor things. But this is a pretty nice base. I have to be honest. My house is a little nicer than my cabin in the Catskills, and I've got a lot of friends here, and I kind of like the quality of life. It's social if you want it. There's enough outdoor activities to keep me very busy. And I guess we'll discuss today. I do a lot of fishing down here.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am curious, with the fishing, that means you are outdoors and you're you're learning, you're having fun, you're getting educated, you're getting introduced to experiences. And I know we had discussed earlier about how do you take notes when you're in an interview, and you said, "Well, Howard, I've got this great memory. I don't need a book, and something it is what it is." And I respect that.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
me, I have the podcast and I require an internet connection or some sort. What's it like to be kind of a nomad living in another country when perhaps you do need to be connected?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. First of all, Howard, I don't think I said I have a very good memory. I think I said I have a memory, and I'm probably far too lazy to take notes. So I tend to write in my head
Mhm.
more than I write on paper. I will mull something over for a good month before I commit anything to paper. I'm retelling the story again and again and again, but to kind of get it into a decent
Mhm.
enough semblance of words.
Mhm.
So that's just simply my process. So whether I'm connected or not, it really doesn't matter. In fact, when I arrived in Mexico, I guess about a month ago, I immediately took off to the other side of the country, to Baja, because
Mhm.
I was invited to partake in an adventure cruise that
Mhm.
does the Sea of Cortez or Gulf of California.
Mhm.
And that was very cool. I'd never been out there. I'd never been
Mhm.
on a cruise before. There's a very small cruise line. And it was great. It was an incredible experience. And we were completely cut off. There was no internet service whatsoever.
None. Okay.
None. So that meant you had activities, but you talked to people and you hung out
Okay.
with people. And every night, interesting enough, we would go into the lounge, and there was probably by the end of it, a group of 10. We would play games,
Okay.
eh, card games, or nothing traditional games I'd never seen, but they were a lot of fun. So we just sit, drink, talk, play games. It was very quaint and kind of old fashioned, but it was perfect versus everybody on their phones or in their checking emails.
This trip and down into the Gulf of California, Baja, when you were There you go. There's my residual cough. Let me start again. Three, two, one. So, David, I'm curious, when you were on this trip to the Gulf of California and the Baja Peninsula, and I say that, by the way, to demonstrate to my listeners that I am geographically intelligent. I know where that was. But what was what, given the type of work that you do, and I know a lot of it has to do with fishing and the writing, the essayist part of it. How did you spend your day? And as like you get up in the morning and then you spend the evening playing
Mhm.
games. What was it
Right.
like in the middle? What was a typical day like?
Um, I I tend to get up very early. So I was always up well before sunrise. I was on a deck probably at anywhere from 5:30 onwards. One of the reasons I did that because the sunrises were spectacular here. I've
Mm,
never seen anything like that. So that was kind of cool. And I just naturally get up early. The days on the itinerary is basically divided into a morning and afternoon activity.
mm,
So after breakfast, we would decide what you want to do. There could be three or four activities within the morning with varying degrees of difficulty, I guess.
mm,
And then we would hop into pontoon boats off the
mm,
back of the cruise boat. The cruise boat would anchor off a shore of a deserted little island. We'd hop in these pontoon skiffs, head
mm.
into shore, get as far in as we could, but typically we had to jump out into the water and get in. And then you had your day, whatever that was, whether you were snorkeling, whether you were hiking up an arroyo trying to get to a cliff or something like that, just doing a little exploring on your own, sea kayaking, all kinds of stuff. And then back to the boat for lunch and then an afternoon trip and then back for a cocktail hour and then dinner. So you were pretty bagged by the end of the day.
I can imagine it. It's a full week if I recall, and
It is a full week. Yeah.
yeah. So you how did it feel like it to be disconnected for so long?
It felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It honestly felt great. A lot of stress and pressure and bullshit just kind of went away. I found myself smiling more and more as the week
Okay.
went by. In fact, I did a little series of selfies and the first ones I were like, okay, I'm not sure about this cruise. What's going on? The last one, I was just like, here I am, super smiling. It was kind of cool. Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience. And one of the things that I found, I, I've never been on a cruise before. So I was I didn't know what to expect. I was a little concerned about, oh my God, I'm going to be trapped with 50 people and
Hmm.
all this stuff. But because I wanted to write about it, I sat down with everybody
Hmm.
over the course of that week, and just talked. And the stories were extraordinary. I mean, people sometimes were in their late 70s. They've traveled the world. They've done everything. I just pulled up a chair and just sat and just started listening to these people talk about their lives and their adventure lives. And that was pretty cool. We were so like-minded that it very quickly became a cruise of friends. And
Okay.
that was great. Yeah.
I love that. Now, would you be inclined to have this kind of adventure again somewhere else?
I would if Dan Blanchard, the CEO, is listening to this. Yeah, I'd love to go to Alaska with these guys because I think that's kind of their sweet spot. They're consistently voted the best small cruise line or adventure cruise line in Alaska. I would like to see. I've never seen an orca. I
Okay.
think I've seen most every other type of whale, and then not a blue whale. I would like to see an orca in the wild.
Okay.
So
Did you see
yeah.
whales down in the Gulf?
We did. We did. They typically do come into the Gulf on this trip, either weather or time of season. We didn't see any. So at one point midweek, we pulled into the only sort of port we could get to. And then we hopped in buses and we shuttled across Baja
Mm,
to the Pacific side. And there's a series of protective, I guess, kind of coves there. And there were gray whales. So we hopped into their pontoon skiffs, went out in very, very choppy water, but the gray whales came out to play. Yeah, the gray whales doing this particularly cool thing called spy hopping, where
okay.
they will sort of surface a little bit, basically, and just look at you, put their heads, want to see what you're about, and then drop back down. That was kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
Now,
never
were
actually
you
seen that
on the
before.
ship or on like a skiff?
Oh, we're on
Or-
skiffs. We're on pontoon skiffs. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So
No, actually,
that's
here we were on pangas, but the fiberglass boat of
okay.
Mexico. But yeah, yeah.
Okay. But you're pretty close. You're at the water level here. You're not like got back on the cruise ship. So
Oh no, no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you get it right, you're a meter away from a whale. Yeah, if
I
everything
love
works
that.
out for you. But yeah,
I
no, it's
love that.
very cool.
See,
Yeah,
in my years of living, I have never seen a whale outside of the beluga whales in Shedd Aquarium in Chicago. So I'm kind of
really.
excited it's someday to be able to see a whale. So
Oh
that's good.
yeah,
All right. That
whales are cool. Yeah.
yeah, that and the Northern Lights are like my bucket list items. So I'll be 50% complete if I see a whale someday. So okay.
Well, I'm from Canada, so it's I've seen them many times. Just book that trip, Howard. Get super north, not Canada, but just go to Iceland or go to Norway or something at the right time of year and get yourself a chair and a blanket and something to drink and lay
Yes.
back and just look at the most spectacular thing you've ever seen in your life.
And that's exactly what I want to do. And I should add, being here in Nevada, access to Death Valley, Mojave
Right.
National Preserve. The first time I actually went out to the desert, and I didn't bring my camera with me. It was a part of a meetup group. I just wanted to meet the people. But I remember just sitting down in my chair, and the sky darkened and the stars came out, it was like the most wonderful experience. So
Yeah.
add that to the Northern Lights, perhaps to seeing a whale. I think
Yeah. Maybe a whale. There you go.
yeah, life will be
You're
pretty good
done.
there. I love that.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to Mexico. You've made a decision. I'm sure a lot of thought went into why this particular area of the Yucatan, and so
Mhm.
I'm making that assumption, I guess. But why the Yucatan, and why was this area special to you?
It's the Yucatan is very safe. I mean, that's obviously a concern. Sometimes we're in Mexico. It's Mérida is an old colonial town. At one time, it was one of the wealthiest cities in the Western world because most rope used to come from the Yucatan.
Mhm,
It was basically there's a cactus called henequen. It's
mhm,
cactus like plant called henequen that they would process and turn into rope. And there's a little sea town not far from Mérida. Mérida is about 45 minutes inland. Little sea town. There was a shipping port called Sisal. So all this rope was stamped Sisal, or what we now know as sisal,
yes.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And it went all over the world. It was so wealthy that there's a main thoroughfare here called Paseo Mateo, and it looks like the Champs Elysees. I mean, it's mansion after mansion after mansion. I'm absolutely sure some of these places were purchased in France, dismantled, brought here, and
Mhm,
rebuilt. And then someone invented nylon, and the rope market just fell, and the
wow.
city went into many years of depression, and a lot of these old beautiful colonial homes fell into disrepair, so much so that,
Mhm,
once a roof falls in, you're in this climate, jungle just starts
right.
going through everywhere. Um, However, some people came in and they saw the potential and they started buying them up and getting rid of the jungle and rebuilding them. And now it's a lovely little town. We have a couple little houses that we are renovating and
Mhm,
fixing up. So yeah, it's a nice life, and it's a nice, um, quality. Sorry, it's a nice difference from the New York
mhm.
experience where I am deep in the woods in a cabin. There's a number of cabins on our property, but I can be, I can be social if I want to, but it's very isolating. Here, I'm in a city,
Mhm.
and I'm surrounded by lots of friends, lots of like-minded people. So it's just a kind of a cool quality of life, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you made this decision to go into this area of the country, how did you then begin to explore the opportunities for your your fishing adventures?
Yeah. I My wife and I have been coming down to America for a while, so we knew it a bit. And a few years earlier, we were down on the Caribbean side. So we're down in Tulum,
Mhm,
and I booked a day to go fishing with somebody down there. So
Mhm.
on that side from Cancun all the way down to Ixcalac, the very bottom of Mexico, is a world-class saltwater fishery. You're fishing for bonefish, tarpon, permit, um, otherwise known as the Grand Slam.
Mhm.
And there are all kinds of lodges, a few independent guides that take people out there. So I did that and I caught my first bonefish, and that was kind of cool. I was a little hesitant because I'm a cold water guy. I'm a trout and salmon guy.
Mhm.
To me, these fish are found in the most beautiful parts of the world. There's something about a mountain stream for me that just resonates.
Mhm.
I didn't get saltwater fishing. I didn't understand wrapping myself up like I'm a bank robber to protect from the sun
Right.
and these long casts with these really ugly looking flies and all that stuff. So I, I went in a little hesitant, but then you catch your first bonefish and it takes you into the backing and it's just whizzing all over the place. And you realize, "Yeah, I'm in shorts. I've got a beer. It's 80 degrees out. This
Mhm.
maybe isn't so bad."
Not so bad.
So, yeah, not so bad. However, I met a guy down there who, and I mentioned I was interested in Mérida, and he said, "Well, if you ever go there, there's a guide I know up in a tiny little fishing town. His name is Ismael Navarro, and I thought he's a great guy. I fished with him, and I just thought he's an amazing guy, but nobody knows about him. He has no social media presence. He doesn't advertise in any way. Nobody knows he's there. But if you
Okay.
can find him, go fish with him."
Okay.
So that began about an 8-month long search when I was here a little more regularly to find Ismail. He was my white whale. And I finally met somebody who maybe had his number kind of thing. And I WhatsApped him and he responded right away. And he said, "Yeah, come on up anytime you want to fish." So I did. And I met him at a little bar, and he just was the coolest guy ever. He's quarter Mayan, I think. He stands maybe 5 foot. He's probably mid 40s, I guess. But we just got along well. I fish with guides all over the world. Occasionally you just connect with a guide.
Mhm.
There's a fellow in Sweden that I fish with that we just love to fish together.
Mhm.
A few others around. Ismail was one of those guys. So we went out and we just had a blast fishing in his boat. We're fishing for baby tarpon,
Mhm.
baby tarpon and juvenile tarpon. So we're in the mangroves essentially, or kind of flats created by mangroves. And it's a perfect tarpon nursery, among a thousand other things. So we would go out. Tarpon fishing in this situation is typically pre-dawn,
Mhm.
and you're going out as the sun rises, and you're looking for what's known as rolling tarpon.
Mhm.
Tarpon are one of the very few fish that not only can they also breathe air as opposed to dissolved oxygen in the water, they need to breathe air.
Mhm.
So they need to surface every once in a while, and they're sort of taking gulps of air. This is known as a roll of tarpon or rolling tarpon. So you look for that disturbances on the water, and then we would get in reasonably close and pull the rest of the way in, and then you throw out a fly at whatever it is, 30, 40, 50 feet, and you could just see the tarpon turn and bam. And they take air like very few fish do, salmon do, steelhead do. Tarpon, tarpon takes air and they dance on their tails. They're known as the silver king because they're all silver. It's a beautiful fish. And you're in for a very, very fun time. And we
Right.
would yeah, on a good day, we could easily catch 30, 40 baby tarpon. On a really good day, it was a lot of fun with a
Okay.
big siesta in the middle. So typically it's a very early morning and then sunset kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. So I am curious, uh, the equipment and for you to get ready to be on this excursion, and did you have your poles, your reels or tackle with you? Did you have to get it from your guide?
Yes.
Did you buy it at the local
Yeah.
store?
So no to the local store, no to getting it from the guide, though he does have a few flies. You're
Okay.
bringing everything in.
Okay.
So Ismail's an independent guide. There are, if you look at the northern western part of the Yucatan, there's a UNESCO heritage city called Campeche, which is a
Mhm.
beautiful city,
Mhm.
which is at the bottom. And the very top, there's a little island called Isla Holbox.
Mhm.
Campeche and Isla Holbox have world-class outfitters that take people out
Okay.
for tarpon. So when I came down here, I was invited to go fish with the guys down in Campeche. We did. We had a wonderful time. I wrote about it in that essay. But I want to meet Ismael. They can, if you want, outfit you. They have rods, they have reels, they have flies, et cetera, if you want that experience. A guy like Ismael, appreciate he's at the end of a very long single track road, very dusty. So they're a little isolated up there. He just doesn't have access to the gear and equipment or the fly tying material and stuff like that we would have.
Mhm.
So typically when I come down, I usually have some extra stuff that I will bring him. If it's the end of the season and I'm fishing with him near the end, I will leave him all my flies, stuff like that, just so he's got a little backup. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, I've got plenty of rods. I'll leave him a rod once in a while,
Right.
whatever that is, whatever he needs. These guys operate a little differently. Now they're much less expensive than the big operations, obviously.
Sure.
It's a kind of a semi do-it-yourself situation, but that's totally cool with me. Yeah.
Sure.
And in fact,
So
I prefer it.
okay. So I'm curious, what is unique about, say, the specific equipment, like so the rod, the reel, and
Uh-huh.
the type of fly? Because when we're on social media, Facebook, OWA's website, there's a lot of experienced anglers out there, and there's a couple like Drew Youngdyke, his hobby is repairing rods and tying
Right.
flies. What's unique about that equipment when it comes to, say, going out there and catching
Sure.
the juvenile tarpon?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know if it's particularly unique other than you are, well, obviously you need a good reel that's suited for saltwater because
Okay.
saltwater is terribly corrosive. So it's got a sealed drag, whereas like trout reels, in essence, they don't easy enough. It really comes down to rod size, I think. So for juvenile tarpon, you're probably looking at an 8-weight rod, which
Mhm.
is in the mid range of rods as fly rods go. I've got rods that are 2/8 and I've got rods up to 12 weights. So an
Mhm.
8 is it's a rod with a little bit of spine to it that is going to allow you, it's not so much to fight the fish, though that's certainly part of it. It's going to allow you a little more power to punch into a wind. You're always dealing with wind when you're on
Mhm.
flats anywhere. So
Mhm.
your guide is going to pull you around so the wind essentially is in your back. So your
Right.
back cast is going to be a little weak, but your forward cast, the wind's going to take it and, get you where you need to go.
Okay.
So you would typically bring an 8-weight, you could bring a 9. If you want to go for adult tarpon, now they're you're out in the ocean a little more and they
Okay.
are enormous fish. You're probably looking at minimum 10 to 12 weight. But a
Okay.
12 weight is a heavy rod to throw around all day. I mean, your shoulder's going to be sore. But
Okay.
yeah, other than that, the flies are I should have brought some. I didn't think of that. The flies are unique to, oh, actually, they're not that unique. They look like bait fish. And I think
Okay.
that's pretty much what you're doing. Yeah. Not so much shrimp and crabs, though tarpon will take them. I mean, they tend to be opportunistic. They're going to take whatever you throw at them. But for the most
Right.
part, you're looking at bait fish usually around this size or this size kind of thing. And does
Okay.
color matter? Sure. I guess it does.
Okay.
Does action matter? Yeah, I guess so. Tarpon are very aggressive fish.
Okay.
They're gonna chase just about anything. So
That's good to know. That's good to know.
yeah,
I'm curious. You just mentioned about the tarpon that are near the ocean, that the being
yeah.
huge. So
In the ocean, adults.
what's the size range from an adult to the ones you were in the mangroves with?
So I should forgive me. I should have these weights more accurate. But a baby. Sorry, I'm looking at my hands here. I mean, a baby tarpon is anywhere from. I'll do this in imperial. Anywhere from a foot to 2 feet and however many pounds it is. I don't know. The juvenile tarpon increasing a little more, up to say 3 feet or so. About 3 feet or so, I guess. Adult tarpon are enormous.
Yeah.
They can be 6 feet kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're they're very big fish. I'll send you some notes and you can put that into show notes. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
That's okay. You know what I
This is
do
what,
want, David? I
uh,
want photos. I want photo evidence so I can put
okay.
in the
All
show
right.
notes. So I know you've got
There you
that.
go. Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Got a little
I'm
bit.
thinking you had if you're out in the ocean or near the ocean, you're in for a workout and probably in the morning and again in the evening, but you're going to be
Mm,
sore. I know I would after a day, but with the juvenile fish, the little babies, it's
uh,
I think you had shared earlier, you kind of this constant catch and release because they're there. They're attracted to
yeah.
what you're putting in the water.
They are, but it's like a lot of fishing. If I looked at the equivalent of trout fishing, everything is dead quiet, and all of a sudden a particular insect starts hatching, and all the trout go crazy. And they're terribly focused, and the
Okay.
whole thing can be over in 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it is. Tarpon are sort of similar that way. You'll see them, you'll get in, you'll catch a few, and then just something will shift. They'll all drop down. They'll go someplace else. So a lot of your time is spent looking for fish. And you would split up your time in two ways. You would go onto the flats, and the flats aren't sandy. It's sort of like seagrass. I don't know how deep it is. Maybe it's like a meter or so deep. And that's where you find the big groups of tarpon. But if nothing was going on there, we would then push into the mangroves.
Mhm.
And I don't know how these guys found us around because we're just like, we are literally flat on the panga, pulling ourselves through mangroves, and they're following some kind of river trail, I don't know, to come into little openings where there will be a tarpon or two. And you would hop out in the boat and set yourself up and fish with those. That was sort of cool. We had
Yeah.
this one thing where I was in the front of the boat, just guiding through the mangroves. All of a sudden, I just heard this enormous crash. And I'm thinking, jaguar. I'm thinking, Ismael's dead now. So I spin around, and there's a tarpon in his lap, just smacking the shit out of him that leapt into the boat, and he's trying to push it over. And he finally does. And all of a sudden, for 3, 4 minutes, tarpon started hitting the boat. I think maybe one more came in, but they just started slamming the side of the boat. I'd never experienced that before. That was kind of cool. So the revenge of the tarpon or something like that, I guess.
I love that. Now, I guess I have to ask when I was going through your link tree and I saw this article, uh, Rio Lagartos tarpon prayer and scars in the mangroves of the Yucatan. I'm thinking this is where that story came about.
This is yeah, absolutely. It is where that
Okay.
story came about. Yeah, that was my first time up there. So Ismael is located in a small city called Rio Lagartos,
Okay.
which is a little fishing port from where I am, probably 2.5 to 3 hours away.
Okay.
There's two sort of prime areas up there in the middle between Campeche and Holbox,
Mm.
and one is Lagartos and a neighboring town called San Felipe. And there are enough experienced guides there that you can go up and work out a deal with somebody, and they'll definitely put you on fish. There are lots of other little towns and
Mhm.
varying degrees of success there. You can hire someone to take you out, but they may not know what they're doing. They may
Mhm.
not be tarpon guides, so to speak. They're just going to take you out and you're going to direct them all day. So it depends
Okay.
on the experience you want, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What else there was another question in there.
Well, it's just it was the experience of,
Right.
uh, in the mangroves, and again, I'm actually very interested in prayer and scars. Is this, um,
Ah, okay.
were
Prayer
you
and
on the
scars. Yeah.
receiving were you delivering the prayer and on the receiving end of the scars?
Yeah, I think yeah, yeah, I definitely was. I bring up prayer because at one point we're we're looking for fish. He's up on the bow and he's just scanning the horizon, and I'm in the back with the motorman, Carlos, and all of a sudden I could just hear Ismael speaking a little bit, and I realize he's praying.
Uh,
And he's asking whomever, God, the Virgin Mary, whoever was praying for, the saint of anglers, I should know
the
that,
river gods, yes.
the river gods to find us fish, to
Okay.
find us some sabalo, is how you say it in Spanish. And I thought, oh man, that was kind of cool because I've never heard anybody pray in a trout, a drift boat. But out here, it made a difference. And I say scars because when I was fishing with Alex down the Campeche Tarpon, we had gone out and we were in the mangroves as well. I caught a few fish and we are just sitting there taking a break. And he said, I think this is the spot where the crocodile got me. So he shows me his foot and there's this big bite on his foot. He says, yeah, one of my clients' fly got stuck on a mangrove root. So I said, screw it. I jumped over the side to go in. All of a sudden something grabbed my foot and started twisting and he got up. But then he turned to his guide, Pajugo, and he said, Pajugo, show him your scar. So he takes off his shirt and he's got this huge scar up here. Apparently a crocodile had come into Campeche, into town, and worked its way up to the sewers. And some kids maybe got hurt or were screwing with it or whatever. So a bunch of men went in to get rid of it. And Pajugo got grabbed by this rather large crocodile. So,
Okay.
everything's trying to kill you down here.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. So when you are in this area, you're up in the Rio Lagartos, forest, birds, insects, sounds. What's it like just to
It's
kind of be so immersed in that?
It's incredible. This is a protected biosphere because they recognize the value of having this, the importance of the mangroves to not only the avian life, but also the sea life. You will see birds like, you've never seen anywhere else before. In fact, interestingly enough, for a couple of years, there was an ornithologist from Cornell that used to come down and he met Ismael and Ismael became his basically his guide, his
Oh,
day-to-day guide and friend. And they would go around documenting birds. So Is knows birds like nobody's business. So if there's no fish on, it's like, let's go find some crazy bird. And sure enough, he would get us a place to see it. So that was kind of cool. And he runs birding trips as well. There are people
okay.
who use them just for that,
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, no, the jungles are the jungles up there. It's kind of a interesting, fascinating, at times sort of spooky place. There was a huge Mayan population here.
Mhm.
So the entire Yucatan is just filled with old ruins that kind of immediately put you back to that time period and that way of living. And I think the mangroves do the same thing. To be in those jungles, it's very primitive. It's one thing I think I kind of responded to because I do like the deep woods. I do like that idea of connecting with nature in that way. This was a unique bit of nature I really didn't know that well. And I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to spend time there and go back as often as I can.
Okay. So I am curious, after a number of full days out in the water, getting your fill of tarpon and just being in nature,
Mhm.
how do you take a deep breath and that aha moment, like, oh, this was great? And how do you unwind? And you and I have had this conversation. I think you're hoarding a very old bottle of scotch or whiskey or some sort. And
Yeah.
we talked about doing a multi-part podcast episode where
Yeah.
each glass is going to be a separate topic. But how do you
Right.
unwind after having a day like that and just thinking about the adventure and the experience you had? What's your way to unwind?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I wouldn't use the expression unwind. Like there's no need to unwind.
Okay.
My entire day has been tranquil
Okay.
and calm and peaceful.
Okay.
And that's something that Ishmael often talk about. When I first started fishing with them, he would say, you're Russian. Like, you're Russian, you cast like slow down and bigo, tranquilo. Just like, let's just take it easy, man. And it took me a while to kind of get into that rhythm. So now our days together are just, we go out, we catch some fish, but really honestly, Howard, what we mostly do is just hang out and shoot the shit. And every once
Okay.
in a while there's fish caught. And
Okay.
it's the best day ever. I come back with a smile on my face and I go have a little dinner at a restaurant and just get back and go to bed. And it's the most wonderful total experience of that. I don't often get to relax in life. I'm not often drinking in life, but I am when I fish
Okay.
for tarpon and I am when I fish with my friend. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
However, if I need to, yes, back to your point, if I need to unwind, certainly a really good glass of whiskey is definitely going to help me.
All right.
That and a
Good.
sunset, and I'm probably pretty good.
On that note, I think, and with the spirit of your friend, Ismael, I think that on that note, I think we've done a good job with this particular episode because
Cool.
you're making me a little envious because I sit at my computer to coaching clients, which I love
Mm,
doing. I love the podcasting. I love the hearing about the stories, and I'm thinking, God, I want to experience that. God, I want to
right.
experience that. And but
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time in paradise to kind of take a little
Yeah.
step back and share this journey with us.
Thank you, Howard. I am fortunate without a doubt. And I'm very grateful for that every day that I get to lead the life I do and experience these kind of things. If anyone listening wants any information on
Mhm.
Ismael, please, you'll put in the show notes how to contact me.
Of course,
I'm also happy to send you his direct contact number if you want. If you can put that up, that'd be super cool.
we'll do.
I'm going to talk about one thing for a moment, and I think this ties in directly with the sort of the contentment, I guess.
Mm.
I think Ismail's a great guy. And originally when I first got with him, I'm like, oh, buddy, you need an Instagram account, a little more social media presence, you need to advertise, whatever. Everybody's going to want to fish with you, et cetera, et cetera. And he would look at me and goes, yeah, that sounds interesting. And this is a weird thing I have, but I'm hoping I redeem myself at the end of this. And at first I thought, okay, well, he's not terribly ambitious maybe. And that's fine. It's his life, his choice. But then after a couple of times, I realized it's like, no, I was 100% wrong on this.
Hmm.
He's just content.
Hmm.
He has this great life
Hmm.
where he fishes with clients that he likes. Once in a while, he makes enough money to lead the life he does. He's got family. His son is now working with him. He's in the most beautiful spot, and I think in the world. And he is just so at peace and content that I learned so much from him from that. I try to bring that back into my life. So that's why I say I don't have to unwind, because when we meet each other in the morning, we're already content and we know we're going to have a great day.
I love that, and I really am grateful that you shared that story. And for our listeners, this is not a setup of any sort, but David, there is a story somewhere in the coaching analogies, metaphor realm. I can never get metaphor and analogy correct,
Right.
but essentially it's that story you just shared is this individual, he is content going out fishing. Everybody wants to like, hey, you can make more money, you can buy a bigger boat, you can have
Right.
this, you can have that. It's just, yes, I can, but then I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be content. And I think that's the other key word. Tranquilo, slow
Mhm.
down, be in the moment, but contentment, I think
Contentment.
is a incredibly important word. I love that.
I'll be honest with you, Howard, on a personal note, it's taken me a long time to get here. Living in New York City for 25 years and having the life I have had, and it's been extraordinary. But I'm finally at a point where everything is coming together a little bit to give me
Mhm.
a sense of peace and calm and contentment. And I find that I'm able to experience things in a different way, get things done in a different way, connect with people in a different way. This this random guy in this little fishing village in Mexico contributed to that. He really got me thinking about that a little bit. And I was able to take it and apply it to other parts of my life. So yeah, I'm, again, very grateful.
I love it. I love it. Listen, in the spirit of tranquilo and contentment and being grateful, I'm not even going to ask you how listeners can learn more about you and your work. I'm just going to share if you want to get a hold of David, if you're interested in tarpon fishing and meeting Ismail and hopefully going out with him to fish or birding, we're going to have all that information in the show notes and you get to read the story about prayers and scars in the mangroves of the Yucatan. We'll have all those links because I think it's important to leave this episode on a note of contentment because I think it's really apparent to me right now in this moment, David, you're sharing, but you're content. And I think that's an important feature we want to share with our listeners. So all I can really say is thank you for joining us on the Outdoor Adventure Series again.
Thank you, Howard. We've been friends for a few years now. I always love sitting down and talking with you. I look forward to the next time we see each other.
You got it. Listen, stay on the line.
All right.
We do have to do a quick close, but you and I can have a final
Got it.
chat, okay? All right.
Cool. All right.
All right, folks. Again, we're going to keep this one short because we can't go. I think we've reached where we wanted to be. I'm content with where we're at with David. Yeah, you got to get to know him. He's an outdoor enthusiast, an essayist, very accomplished essayist, and we'll provide backlinks to his work in our show notes. And like we had just made the commitment to each other, we're going to provide links also if you're interested in visiting Yucatan and seeking out Ismael if you want to sample what it's like to catch tarpon in the mangroves. As for us, you can find this episode on our website, outdooradventureseries.com. The beauty of this webpage is we're also going to have some photos, which David is already committed to sharing. We'll make a couple of collages and perhaps he even has an image, a photo with him and Ismael that I'm definitely putting him on the spot right now. But again, this is a great website for you to kind of check out the episode, the show notes. You can leave a comment about the episode. And for all of our places where you can find us, we love likes, sharing, comments, and let us know what you think about the show and about any particular episode. You can find the Outdoor Adventure Series on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn. YouTube will have the video portion of this interview up on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can find us on all of the podcast directories, whichever one is your directory of choice. Just search for Outdoor Adventure Series. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. And we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.